To start this project of removing the pump seal that's inside here, you need to shut off the motor and make sure there's no electricity going to this thing. Then you take the valve and you put it on the, what is it called, backwash. Okay, it relieves the pressure. Then you unscrew this cap and relieve the pressure here. Next, you loosen this up all the way. Take this knob off. It's a clamp, a metal clamp that clamps the motor to this pump housing. You take that off and you can back the motor and the pump off and come apart here, widen up, and then there's a cover inside, which you'll see in the next video, laying on the ground. There's a cover with, I think, 5 screws on it. You undo that and that gets you to the impeller. And then the rest of the videos will follow. Remove this cap off the back of the motor with a wrench. Just like a quarter turn. Anyways, I had it off already, but you got to turn it to get it off. Then you got the shaft here with the flats on it, and you put a wrench on it, and this is the impeller on the front of the motor. Now hold that with a rag and see if I can spin it off. Holding the impeller stationary while trying to turn it with this wrench in the back. Well, it's too tight to turn it by hand, so I got this piece of concrete laying there. I'm going to tap this wrench like this, see if I can loosen it up. To get this impeller off, I had to put a pipe wrench and hold it here. The pipe wrench is big enough to get around this part, and then turn it with the wrench on this end. This is the orientation of the seal on the impeller. Then I got to get that seal out of there inside this housing by taking these bolts off the back. Got this plate off, and this is the orientation of the seal with that white face out. And that's the inside of the housing. Now I'll try gently tapping this seal out with a hammer all the way around. I put Vaseline on this new seal that goes in that housing, so make sure it seats pretty good. Also, I put some Vaseline on this part that will mate inside. This is on the impeller. See it? The metal side goes against the impeller. And this is the seal I'm using on this particular motor. PSR Seal 200. This is by Aladdin. I'm changing the seal on this motor because it was making noise. Now, if this new seal doesn't stop the noise, then it's the bushings in the motor. I had to take the motor in and have new bushings put in. But the main thing is, when you start hearing that noise, don't let the motor run too long. Otherwise, it may scar the bushings so bad that you'll need an entire motor. So hopefully, if the seals don't stop the noise, take the motor in, and if I haven't scarred the bushings up too much, or the shaft of the motor, then it'll be a cheaper job than buying a whole new motor. They'll just redress the shaft. Before I put the new seal on, I'm going to take sandpaper and sandpaper this shaft. It feels rough. And get that cleaned up. Maybe that'll help with the noise. It's pretty rough. I've got the shaft cleaned up pretty good with sandpaper. So let's see if I can put it back together. I got this plate back on. Just tighten up the bolts. And the new seal is in there. Ready for the impeller to go on. And to make myself comfortable, instead of squatting, I'll sit in this chair and work on it. I've tightened up the bolts for this plate here, but you don't want to make it overly tight because this is only plastic. You know, all you're going to do, if you overly tighten it, all you do is squeezing the plastic until it breaks. So just tight enough. Now I've got the seal and the impeller on. You got to make sure that the seal has the orientation that you took it off with. Very important. And now I'll tighten it up using a wrench on the back end, 9/16 wrench, and a pipe wrench on the front to hold it. I've tightened up this impeller and just turning it. But before I put it back together, I'm going to turn the motor on to see if it makes noise. If it makes noise, then it wasn't the seal. I need to take the motor in. Yeah, it's not the seal. It's the motor shaft that needs to be worked on. I have to remove everything I put on because I'm only taking in the motor, not this assembly. You need to take the cover off the back of this motor for the access to the electrical. Unfortunately, screws were rusted in. I broke both of them off. So either they can extract the screw or I may need a new entire motor. Anyways, when you take it off, wear rubber gloves because you can get shocked from the capacitor in here. The what comes out is a red wire on top and a green wire on the bottom. Now it's running quiet. Of course, I had to go and get a new motor to install. And that's another story, how to install the motors on this. I'm not going to talk too much about it because there's a lot of electrical work involved. Fortunately, I know this motor setup and the wiring on it. So that's it. That's the solution to the problem. Noisy motor was not the seal in the front. It was the motor itself, which is about 6 years old. That's about time, especially running 365 days a year.